Hi, I'd like to thank you for purchasing our Adirondack kit. It's made out of solid white pine. It's a locally made chair. It's made in River Falls, Wisconsin at the Renaissance Academy. My name is Kyle Stapleton. I'm the instructor. This is one of my helpers, Tyler Dolman, and we're going to be showing you how to assemble your kit. Inside the box, your box may open on the top, ours opens on the end. Inside of our box, the chair comes partially assembled. So when you open it up, you'll be able to pull out a cardboard piece there with the included hardware. And then you'll be able to pull out, we have our arms right here. These are special arms for the kit that help you assemble them quicker and easier. Back piece. All of our back flaps, you notice all of our pieces are pre-drilled, so you won't need to do much drilling. Everything is routed and sanded. The assembled pieces are the legs that come with the brackets already attached. They are glued and screwed together. And the base has already been assembled, and it comes out of the box, and it is ready to go. We are going to start assembling our base. Most of the base was pre-assembled with glue and screws. The C-slats were put on with a pneumatic nailer so that everything is on there nice and tight. Now we're going to take our legs, and you can see right here they come pre-marked and also pre-drilled. But you will need to use a drill to attach them to your actual base. So what we're going to do here is we're going to flip our base up on our side. We're going to take that mark, and that mark goes right up here on the bottom edge. And then we're going to flush up the front. Alright? And then we're going to take our spring clamps. And again, you don't need spring clamps. Some sort of clamps work well, especially if you're working on your own. But if you have a partner or helper, you can just hold it, then you'll drill it. We're going to do the same thing on both sides. Alright, now that we have both sides done, what I like to do to make sure that it sits nice and level is I'm going to take our chair and I'm going to set it on a flat surface. And once you set it, it shouldn't rock, it shouldn't move, it should be perfectly flat. That's going to confirm that all our marks and we're lined in the right spot. Now that we have that done, we can flip it over and we are going to pre-drill our holes. Now we're going to pre-drill our holes. Remember, the holes have been pre-drilled in the legs. We just need to continue through into the side, and everything will work out fine. So I'm going to flush it up, make sure everything's good, and I'm going to have Tyler drill those holes. Now that our holes are drilled, we can take off our clamps and put in our bolts. Remember, the bolts came with the hardware in our bag. You need to remove our nut, lock washer, and washer, and this is the order that they'll be going in to make sure everything holds on there nice and tight. We like to use glue when we assemble ours, but you do not have to use glue. I just like it, it makes the joint stronger. And we are using a water resistant glue. Glue on. When I put my glue on, I like to go around where my 3 bolts are. You don't need a lot, you just need a little bit to make sure that joint stays nice and tight. So all we're going to do is we're going to take our leg here. We're going to insert one of the bolts through the front part, and that'll index it for us. And all we have to do is make sure the holes line up, put it on. Now we can take the other 2 bolts, put those in place, and tap it up here. I like to use a hammer to tap them home. You don't have to, but I think it's a little easier. Then we're going to take our hardware here, Again, we go washer, the flat one. Lock washer is the one with a little, like a half a spring. And then we put a nut on there, and we snug them up. Okay, now that we have them started finger tight, we're going to need to take our wrench here, and you can use an open end, you can use sockets like we are, it doesn't matter, there's not a lot of turning that needs to be done, but we're going to snug these up. And when we snug these up, we want to make sure not to over tighten them. We want to make sure they only sink in just far enough to sink these heads down just a little bit. Because you could potentially pull these heads all the way through the wood if you keep cranking on it. Go wrong when you're putting in any of your screws is that if it push away from it like this, keep going, and you think that if you keep doing it, it would suck itself in. It will not. That gap's going to be there. So what Tyler's going to have to do is unscrew it all the way, and now I'm going to have to hold it snug, and then he's going to re-screw it in. And now we have a nice tight joint. So if you see that happening on anything, be it your arms or anything like that, mainly it just happens to us on the back, but you're going to have to take that screw out and re-drive it. Alright, now comes probably the most difficult part of the assembly is adding the arms. We made it easy. We have an actual jig built into our arm right here. This part attaches firmly to here. This inside comes flush against here, and this front comes tight against here. So all I have to do is I'm going to add my glue on the top here, put this on, make sure it's nice and snug and you'll be able to feel it. And then Tyler, or whoever your helper is going to sink the 3 screws right in there. Okay, now we're going to put on our backrest assembly here. What we want to do is we're going to put it on the underneath side. The main thing is you want to make sure the side is flush and the back is flush. Again, if you have clamps, this is a good time to use them. So Tyler's going to put a clamp on right here. Then we're going to move over to the other side. And the other side may not be perfect. It depends on how well you got your arms on, but it doesn't really matter. We're just going to adjust it so it's flush on the side and flush on the back, and then put a clamp on. Alright, now that we have these lined up properly, we're just going to take our drill and drill through the holes that are already there. Make sure you lift up on the back because you don't want to put too much pressure on those screws up front. Now we have our holes drilled, we're going to take our spring clamps off, pull it up, and just like on the legs, again, this is an optional step, but we like to do it, is we put glue around both our holes on both sides. We have to do both sides at the same time. We're going to put our bolts in and tighten them down just like on the legs. Okay, to put on our actual backrest, Tyler here is going to take out these 2 screws that you probably noticed and wondering why this one was screwed on and everything else was nailed on. The reason being is that we need to take these off to install our backrest. So Tyler's going to remove those with the screws. Alright, now that we have that back seat slab removed, there's this piece of scrap that you're probably wondering what was it used for. It didn't look anything, it doesn't look as fit and finished as everything else. What that is, if you want to use it and if you have clamps, it makes assembly in the back a lot easier. We just put it down here. It makes a nice little ledge to set things on. So we're going to clamp that on. And you can see that now you have a ledge, and when we set our backrest on there, it makes it a lot easier to assemble. Now we're going to put on our backrest. You can see that there's a spot that's countersunk, or it might not be countersunk depending on the kit you received. It doesn't much matter, but all we're going to do is if you have ones that are countersunk, those go out. If they're not, it doesn't matter which side. So I'm going to give these to Tyler and we're going to set these up. There's no really right way to do it. It's all about how you want it to look. Some people like a fan action. Some people like them straight up and down. I prefer straight up and down. We'll have a little bit of a fan in it, but nothing too special. So once we have these set in place, what I like to do is I like the backs, or the outside ones, to be almost about 1/8 of an inch away on the bottom, and then on the top, pretty much touching the outside arms, and then we just adjust spacing to look nice. and I think that was pretty nice. So now what we're going to do is we're going to mark our backs so we know where they go. I have Tyler holding them firm against here, so when I touch them they won't move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to make a mark on the back here and a mark on the board here. So I have assembly marks, so after I take them off and remove them, I can put them back in the exact same spot. And I'm going to do that with all 5. Now that we have them all marked, I'm going to take off all my back slats except for the one I'm actually going to put on right now. I like to put on the outside ones first. You can see the holes are pre-drilled. When you put them on, if you can see the holes behind here, that means your arms are a little bit low, so you can just lift it up just a hair, and then you can put your screws in. It shouldn't be a problem unless you're leaning on them. If you're leaning on them, then it'll push it down. But if you need to lift it up, it's not a big deal. So again, gluing these is a lot overkill, but that's what we do. So if you guys want to do it, feel free. I'm going to put glue right over my hole on the bottom and right over my 2 holes on the top here. And remember, I have those lines marked here. So I'm going to be looking at the back. I'm not even going to look at the front here. And I have it lined up. I don't have any holes showing, so everything looks good. And Tyler's going to screw it home. Now that we put our last one on, we can take off these. And now Tyler can put on our rear seat slat, and we will have our finished chair. Something you're going to want to remember is that this is made out of pine, so you're going to have to make sure that we prime and paint it, or else it could rot very quickly outside if it gets rained on. So make sure to prime and paint, and this chair will last for a very long time. Now that Tyler has put in our last rear seat slat again, we have our fully completed chair. Remember that this is made out of pine, which is the traditional Adirondack material, but it is going to have to be primed and painted before you can place it outdoors, or else it will rot. So I hope you enjoy your chair for many years to come. Again, thank you for buying your chairs from the Renaissance Academy.